Hello, everyone. My name is Jenny, and I wanted to welcome all of my new subscribers, and I wanted to talk a little bit about myself for those of you who haven't heard me describe what I do, my work before. So I started seeing Metatron and talking to Metatron as a baby. And I know that because my mother told me. My mother's not really into all this stuff. She's very open to it, but it's easier for her to believe because she heard her, 1-year-old talking about it. So that's helpful. And I had that relationship with Metatron all through my childhood as the Holy Spirit. As a teenager, I laid hands on people. I spoke in what we call in this in the new age, which isn't new. It's been going on in the Eastern cultures for millennia, but it's new to Whitey, I always say, for us Westerners. But I was doing that, in the Bible, they call it speaking in tongues. So I audibly heard Metatron talk to me like he does all the time when I was 11 years old, standing at the altar. And he said, "Why do you keep asking Jesus and God for the gifts of the Holy Spirit? Why don't you ask the Holy Spirit?" And so I did, and then, got my light language. But yeah, so I've been doing this work for a long time, like laying hands on people and seeing dreams that they had and doing healings and all of that kind of stuff. I use different terminology, but same energies. Okay. So, in my work, I do charts and I go through we'll go through the entire natal chart together, and we'll talk about how these stories have played out for you, how they reflected from, your past, because you come in with that chart. That doesn't necessarily mean that the energy stays that way. It's not like a fixed path that you have to do. And so we remove the stories where lessons have been learned and there's forgiveness. And, we don't move on from things until there's understanding and forgiveness. And we share that with the soul family. We move it through the timelines backward and forward. So that's what I do in my work. And you can find all of my information in the description box below. So that kind of leads me into the new moon in Pisces energy that we're going to be feeling. This is Wednesday that I'm recording this on the 19th. And so it will probably be up Wednesday evening, maybe Thursday morning. But we're already in the dark of the moon on Thursday, I believe, because I can feel this energy already. It's a very emotional week for a lot of people. Mars being out of bounds can be a lot of angry energy. I've noticed I've had amazing responses from posts that I put up on Facebook, especially from men, I've noticed, which is awesome. But I have seen in the one that I put up about, which was the Emerald Fire meeting, and you can find those on Vimeo. That's also, the information is in the description box. It's free to look at those. And I have on the post that I'm promoting on Facebook, just because I would like it if people joined in doing the healing work for the planet, that it's free. And I keep getting comments saying don't give your money to this person. So just to be clear, there's no charge just to do that work for the planet. But, there's a lot of anger out there. So, it's important these days. I'm sure that's why I'm wearing blue and why I have blue nail polish on today. It's important. This chair also is blue. I think it comes out black on the camera, but it's important that we're doing, keeping our energy shored up and safe. I saw a funny meme this morning from another astrologer, and it was a man sticking little sticks on the shoreline, and it said how Pisces protect their boundaries, and the water was just going between all the sticks. And that's, all of us have a Pisces in your chart. Everybody does. Everyone has a Neptune, and Neptune and Pisces is where we look when we talk about the lower energies of martyrdom. And, we all want to make sure that we're really grounded in this energy. This is a very easy energy to get carried away in, and it can go both ways. It can go where we're caught up in illusion, or seeing things and imagining things. But we can also be really very sorrowful. And that's the story of Pisces, right? With the two fish. It's a choice. Are you going to create? He's saying manifest your heaven on earth, or are you going to be a victim of our circumstances? And I understand, like, there's a lot of us, especially if you're on this path and you're willing to do the work and you've sort of said, whatever I'm supposed to do, I'd like to do that. We can have taken on a lot of challenges in childhood, a lot of painful scenarios. And at some point, it's like, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to stay there, or are you going to manifest your heaven on earth? So Metatron is calling this, he's talking about this new moon being a lot relating to choices. And will I stay or will I go choices? Will I move on from that habit that's holding me back, that relationship, that job? And will I continue to be a victim of my circumstances? And a lot of times we do that because it's easier to just stay in that energy. It's comfortable. We know it. We're familiar with it. So this new moon is happening in Chicago at 9:32 a.m. on Sunday the 23rd, and in Sydney that will happen overnight, Sunday night at 2:32 a.m. Monday morning. London time, it will be 3:32 p.m. on the 23rd. And so we always look at the minutes with the moons because everybody has got a different hour, but a 3 and a 2, that's a 5. And 5s, as we know, are about change, but change that needs like help. Like there's some sort of effort, some sort of push, something that we need to do to make the change. And I've noticed a lot in sessions lately that when there are people talking about what they're going through, and their circumstances and feeling trapped and not having a way out, that when Metatron is lending me suggestions for, how they could change this or that, then it's just like a reason why that's not going to work. And it's great to talk about like portals and gateways and shifts and changes, but ultimately it's up to us. Once we show that we're putting in the effort, then the universe does more than meets us halfway. It always will come to the rescue then and say, it's like the universe is recognizing, you're putting out the effort. We're making an effort to move ourselves in one direction. And then the universe is like, oh, they'd like to go in that direction. And so then things will, come together to make sure that transition happens, that change comes about. It doesn't have to occur like the tower, but we still are in a tower energy, as you'll be able to see in this chart. I want to speak to the fact that this is happening at 4 minutes and 28 degrees of Pisces. So whatever planets you have in the early signs. And it's also a good idea to look at your midpoints to see like the midpoints between the degrees of the planets to see what house where this is, what planets will be affected. And then also check the house where you have Pisces, what house it rules. And, like anything that you have, really look at your progress chart is also important. You might want to look at your solar return chart as well. But so we're talking about like late degrees of signs and then early degrees going up until about 8 to 10 degrees. I mean, if you have a planet at 10 degrees, I'm not going to say that that's not going to be affected. It's possible that will be affected with this as well. And this is happening with the fixed star Fomalhaut, which is at 3 degrees and change of Pisces, so just a degree away. So when we talk about the 4 royal fixed stars, we have Fomalhaut in Pisces, related to Archangel Gabriel, known as the Watcher of the South. And then we have Aldebaran in tropical zodiac, that's in Gemini, that's Archangel Michael. And then Regulus, which is at 0 degrees of Virgo since 2011, and that is Archangel Raphael. And then Antares is Archangel Uriel's energy, and that's at 8 degrees of Sagittarius and the eye of Scorpion. And Michael Aldebaran is the eye of the bull in the Taurus constellation. So this is one of the 4 royal fixed stars. It's a big deal. And Metatron is calling it Heaven's Gateway, or because Pisces, we associate Pisces because Pisces is sort of the netherworld and the ethers and, spirit, our intuition, the heavens. And, the Pisces Virgo axis is about bringing heaven, manifesting heaven on earth, and how we put that into practice, with our Mercury and with our Virgo, our 6th house. And so this relates a lot to change. Well, I want to talk first about Fomalhaut. So in some writings, he's in the eye of the southern fish, in others, the mouth of the southern fish. And he's related to, Ptolemy relates him to the energy of Mercury or Venus. So connected with writing, creativity, musical talent, and idealism, where we, really believe that anything is possible. And that's a lot from, and also bringing change from material world, or focus of the material world, to a spiritual form of expression, which is what we all do if we decide that we're going to ascend. We're going to let loose of the shadow and move into a higher vibration. And in astronomers, in sky lore, he's referred to as the solitary one or the lonely one, because there's not a lot of stars out there. And all of those descriptions relate to Pisces, because Pisces is either like you come into the realization that you're a part of all that is, that there is no separation between you and the creator of all that is, that you are a spark of the creator. You are a piece of the light, of the alpha and the omega energy, that frequency of pure unconditional love that we see as the white light energy with the pearly iridescent rainbow in there. In that, if you've ever been in that energy, you'll be able to recognize that. And so it's either that we see that, or we see that we're isolated and we're alone. It relates to addictions, imprisonment, mental hospitals, because there's some story that we're not one with all that is, that we haven't come to that place where we've recognized, he's saying, the glory of who we are, that there's nothing outside of us asking to be worshiped or obeyed, nothing that's telling you what to do or expecting you to behave, by a rigid set of rules like we had during when the religions were, coming into consciousness, that were meant to, rule a society and make sure that people behaved a certain way. It's really what you do with this gift of life that you were given. And that's always in your thinking. Neptune or Pisces, it rules the subconscious mind. And so it's always like the actions that we take are, 90 to 95%, some people say, are governed by the subconscious mind. So it's really like, have you overcome that subconscious story of separation that's found in the DNA of humanity? Because some relative was in a religion that taught them that they needed to martyr themselves in some way, to make a sacrifice in order to be loved, in order to be perfect. We're asked to give up, we're asked to only be celibate, or asked to take a vow of poverty. And he's talking about like releasing the shackles that hold us back, that we've obligated ourselves to. And Pisces and Neptune also are about boundaries, like where there are no boundaries. But unless we are completely grounded and, releasing the cord from the root chakra, witnessing it going down into the earth and fastening ourselves in there and really feeling that, otherwise we can be up here in the ether. So really feeling your energy moving into the root chakra and allowing that portal to be open. Otherwise, we're up there floating around, and then you can be taking on things from other people and not even recognize that, you're suddenly in a bad mood, or you feel down. And that's because, something came into your space. That can happen a lot with family members, because we feel, most of us, that we have a responsibility to our family, or we've said that we were going to do this and that for the ancestors, and all of those things. In order for us to, come to that place of oneness and enlightenment and ascension, those things need to be released. Okay. So he was speaking a lot to that, and really about, as it shows in the chart, the choice to leave the past behind and to walk forward in a new path. So let's take a look at the chart. So you can see for the universal chart, The 8th house intercepted has got Mercury with the little antennas there, the sun, the moon, Neptune, and next to Neptune is the asteroid Saint Michael, where it says Saint. So that's an awesome energy, because when we relate, Neptune is related to our intuition. So that talks about messages coming in from Michael, truth that has been withheld, something that we have been like mystified by, or why is this not coming about, or, questions that we've had, just trusting that those answers now are going to make themselves known. And I believe that will continue on through this Mercury retrograde, because Mercury is right in this energy. And if you notice then, if you follow the blue lines, the shorter blue lines that go down, they go to the South Node, the Vertex, Mars, Pholus, and 8. A-T-E. So when you see that, kind of see that imaginary, the silent H before 8. 8 is the daughter of Eris, who we talked about last video or 2 videos ago when I spoke about the Eris-Pluto squares, and that energy is still going on. But 8, I've read now in other accounts of Greek mythology that she was the daughter of Eris, who actually started the Trojan War. And she was cast out of Olympus by Zeus, so cast out of heaven for her misdeeds, and then had to come back and keep making up for the past to make everything right that she had caused, to go wrong before. Mars is the self. It's an initiating, aggression, moving, or you could say assertive. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a bad, aggressive energy. But Mars is out of bounds. And so when you look at this, the vertex is a point in the sky. This is not the asteroid vertex. The vertex always relates to a karmic happening of some kind. Pholus is like what comes back to bite us in the ASS, or a wrapping up of a karmic cycle. When you see all of them clustered up there, they're at Polis, which is another fixed star that relates to religious leaders, or like people that have, and also I almost said conquistador. So yeah, something of conquest, someone who, goes forward on a mission kind of thing. But Mars is the self, and it's also related to the divine masculine that we all have. But when it's with the South Node, and 8 and the vertex are all there with the South Node, this is about something that's being released, something that's letting go. And you can see with that long blue line that goes from the South Node that looks like a U all the way up to where where you see the number 10 there, that's Uranus. They're in a trine. So that's something that a trine is an easy flow of energy, which means it doesn't necessarily mean, because it always depends on the planets involved, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be something that's like, oh, that was easy. It just means that it's going to happen because there's nothing stopping it. And Uranus relates to freedom and coming into higher consciousness. So it's like unshackling the past, the burdens of the past. Capricorn, Saturn, burden. Not always, but I'm just saying, like when you're looking at the South Node Capricorn, that's like a heavy burden. So something that will be like gone from us, that will lead us into a new place of freedom. This is also speaking in a trine with the energy of the moon and the sun. The new moon is in a trine with the North Node in Cancer, which is about coming to a place of emotional wholeness and healing, and recognizing that you belong, that you are safe here, that you're allowed to take your life and do with it what you will, and that your ancestors all support you in that way. Chariklo, who we know her name means the graceful spinner, how we weave that web to create our own reality, is sitting with Saturn, so something of permanence. And then I wanted to point out that if you look at where the number 11 is, near the top of the chart, you could see the asteroid Atlantis is with Aldebaran, Archangel Michael's royal fixed star. So that being in Gemini, And in the 11th house, I think that we're, maybe in for some sort of water event. There could be like widespread flooding kind of thing. We're kind of already in that energy. We've seen like so many storms happening. But also in relation then, if you're looking at Michael at the asteroid where it says Saint Michael, then, again, getting maybe gifts that you had during the time of Atlantis. Mao was before Lemuria and Atlantis. And so you can kind of count all of those in there, that you can bring the gifts and the mastery that you have from other timelines and ways that you've practiced healing from other timelines into the here and now. And so just expect that or let's not say expect, but just trust that you will be giving guidance in that way, and that new things will, come to memory, maybe relating to past lives, to this. And I don't romanticize it so much because I don't, I'm about moving into the future, and Atlantis did go under because the darkness came, and then a new civilization came after that, and we keep working our way through those, right? It's done in cycles. And as far as like any kind of partnership, we have Venus, and she's squaring like between Jupiter and Pluto, but she's also very close to, if you look at Venus there in Aries, at the end of Aries, you see Karma, and Karma, the asteroid Karma, is exactly with Eris, the goddess of discord. And they are, still in that squaring of Pluto, okay? They're just 1 degree out of that square, so that's still happening. Pluto only goes 3 degrees a year, so he moves very slowly, and he'll go back, and they'll keep that square energy is going on through October of 2021, but now we've got Karma there. Now, again, the 9th house does relate to, and this is the universal chart, or for universal time, but Karma, all of them being in the sign of, spiritual leadership gurus. We could see something like that because Polis is also involved in that. We just had in the United States an organization that's been around, I'm sure since the 50s. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a long standing, like my son was in it. It's pretty typical if you live in the suburbs that, or maybe they do it in the city too, but they have like a lot of outdoor activities. My son, it wasn't his cup of tea, so we didn't do it for very long. But the Boy Scouts of the USA now actually had to fold because they've extended like when you can file charges of sexual assault in the state of California. And so many men came forward because they were sexually assaulted as a boy in Boy Scouts that they've had to close shop. They've had to file for bankruptcy. So that's like this energy, that kind of thing. Also looks to be, I'm not sure of the political, like what's happening in England right now, but I would say that there could be something being withheld maybe from the public, some knowledge, something going on with dirty secrets, but that could be really anybody in leadership now with this energy that we're looking at. We still have Chiron with Black Moon Lilith, and depending on what's happening for you in Aries, that can be affecting you. I know so many people are exhausted. That's a sign to rest, to take it easy. And really, with all of the stuff happening in Pisces, it's important to be resting a lot. He's talking about regaining strength for our next adventure. Also, Archangel Gabriel is with the Pallas Athena energy, who we see always with the owl. Wisdom, the goddess of wisdom. She was a warrior, a leader. So that's awesome that that's happening. So really with Pisces, being clued into the intuition and expecting signs, but knowing that there's going to be some kind of release. Uranus is the Wheel of Fortune energy. So if you've been looking at where things have been in a down cycle, this could be when there's freedom. Revelations, he's talking about, like, not the book of Revelations, but things that are revealed to you that maybe were, mystifying you, or you couldn't figure out this and that. And that's a lot of this Pisces energy too. I know somebody that I'm friends with on Facebook, he always says like Mercury is drunk again, because Pisces relates to addiction. And that's the imprisonment piece as well of Pisces, is that we've surrendered our power in order to come into a place of connection, that's always what it is with addiction. It's because there aren't those feelings of safety and belonging. And so they're looking for a way to feel that euphoria that we feel when we're in full connection with the Creator and with all that is through the bond of pure unconditional love. They're looking for that by way of substance. So that's how that relates to, alcoholism and any kind of drug addiction. As far as like linking up with the partner, Juno, who represents partnership, is retrograde near the fixed star Spica. And then Sedna which relates to loneliness, is with Sphinx, which is like things that go on in other realms, or sometimes in a chart, it can show where there's a tie. So, and it's on Algol, Medusa, which is known to the ancients as the demon star. So maybe not the best time to be looking into like a new partner kind of thing, but really a good time to forgive the former partners and release all of that energy and allow forgiveness to take place. Pisces, is compassion, forgiveness, an inner knowing, coming to a place of like inner sanctuary within yourself where you recognize that you have all of the spiritual gifts and the creative gifts that you've been practicing timeline after timeline, lifetime after lifetime, that you've already perfected those. And then maybe whatever is clouding you from being able to see that, coming into a new place of recognition with that. So with new moons, I always say, like right when the new moon happens, putting forth the intent, writing it down. I have like a burning bowl, and so I write down like what I would like to manifest on one side of the paper, what I'd like to release on the other side, and then burning the piece of paper, and then you put it out on the grass or wherever you can outdoors, so that the universe takes that, your wish list, so to speak, and allow yourself the place of, if you don't know the answers to how all of these things are going to work out, then you can make the statement like, I deserve and I am worthy of a miracle. I'm without worrying about these things. I'm just trusting and believing and having a place of compassion for yourself and for others, for when we've fallen down and we haven't shown the light to people because we hated them or hated them, and just allowing that to release. And if there's something like ugly that we don't like in ourselves too, like I recently heard that I'm being talked about on another YouTube channel. Don't tell me who it is, by the way, if you know. I don't want to know. But myself and a friend of mine, we were laughing about that the other day. People, I believe, though, that maybe not in this lifetime, but I believe it won't be too far gone that people recognize that just as namaste means the light in me recognizes the light in you, that if they look at another and they only see the shadow, that's just their own reflection. So I don't pay too much attention to that. But, it's important with Venus signifying the other and being in areas where she's not so comfortable, that we recognize that the things that we don't like in ourselves, the shadow side of ourselves, is reflected in others as well. Anytime that I see somebody do this or that, and I think like, oh, like I have that judgment, like, oh, I'm like, oh, great. That means that it's somewhere in here, or in here, in the subconscious, and that's just really having grace for ourselves and grace for everyone else. Everyone, like I said, that doesn't know these things, doesn't have the knowledge that we have, is going through them as well. And this is a time where we're still in that tower energy. I listen to tarot all the time just when I'm walking in the woods. And if I listen to my sun, moon, ascendant, my progressed ascendant, my progressed sun, there's tower cards in all of them. So I know that a lot of you also are getting those tower energies happening, where we're releasing things. And Metatron said that in the beginning of this year, we would be wrapping up, the cycle with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction and being shown like the next doorway. The next door is what he's saying. So a lot of that still going on where we're releasing the past. But, Uranus is freedom. It's like the one who unshackles. He's the great awakener. And it's not always like so hunky-dory when it happens, but it's always for the best. And trusting that the Creator, that the angels, the guides, that your higher self always has what's best for you in mind. So he asked me to read, I said it was 4 degrees and change of Pisces. So we're going to read the Omega symbol for the 5th degree of Pisces, which is dyers at work with many vats of different colors. It's manifesting an inspired energy. This degree likes to work with a wide spectrum of vibrations. It is very imaginative and wants to bring its inner visions down into physical reality. It is looking to make the world a brighter place and to transmute all negative emotions into their spiritual counterparts. Fear becoming faith, anger, love, and sadness, joy. It seeks to remove the veil of drabness from everyday life to allow the wonder of nature to shine forth. The Chandra symbol for this degree is thousands of gold nuggets glistening at the bottom of a clear stream. When you allow emotions to flow forth and be whatever they want to be, letting go of any attachment to them, but without repressing them, they can wash away confusion and delusion and leave behind the realization of what is truly important and of value. This degree is about allowing cleansing process to happen. It is also about allowing meaning to emerge from life by joyously going one's own way spontaneously until all becomes clear. And the Azoth symbol is a bridge that has been difficult to build is in its final stages of completion. I love that. So, wow, that's an awesome interpretation for that degree. So really, like, we're transmuting. Remember that Mercury began his retrograde on a degree that was about transformation. So again, joy into sorrow and allowing yourself to have the emotional release. I even was like, mad this morning. I was mad. I'm not gonna lie. And I woke up, and so I knew whenever I wake up like that, I know that I'm having a discussion with them about things that are going on, and I was ticked. That's part of the Mars. That depends on your placements in Aries. I have a very strong Aries signature, so it depends on what's happening with you, how you're manifesting this Mars out of bounds. But Mars out of bounds is anger. So be patient with other people, especially when you're driving. They actually had a police officer pull behind me today, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm being a little impatient. So, they give you, the universe always, once you recognize that the universe is speaking to you, it does not stop speaking to you. It will speak to you in a variety of ways. So when he pulled behind me, and I was speeding, I was about 15 over, which is average for me, honestly. But I didn't realize it. And it's one of those streets where everybody, I was keeping up with traffic kind of thing. But I was like, Metatron, please, I hear you. I'm going to be patient. If there's anything you can do to not, have me not get a traffic citation right now, I would appreciate it. And so he did. He went around me and, went on his merry way. But yeah, the universe is always giving us signs. If it comes in a warning, nothing to fear, but that was my warning. You're allowing impatience to get the best of you. And I know for those of you with planets in Aries, that's one of our things. And depending on where your Mars is too, and what's happening with your Mars, there could be a lot of energy right now where we just want to charge in, and we're still releasing the past and waiting for signs. I mean, if you get a green light and everything is falling into place for you to do something, then do that. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing, is what Metatron says. And I'm not big about Mercury, don't do this, don't do that. Mercury's retrograde 3 times a year, and then counting the shadow, it's a lot of time. Or if we wait until all the void moons are gone, we'd never get anything done. So, just really feel your way into that. And Mercury, again, we've got until he started yesterday or 2 days ago, his retrograde. He's retrograde for 3 weeks, and then he'll leave Pisces. And I'm not talking about finishing shadow so much as when he's completely done with Pisces, April 9th. So, because he doesn't so much like being in Pisces, now we can go with the higher vibration of that and, be hearing from our higher self and trusting in spirit and being led and guided in a way to how to implement our plan, and that will help in not allowing the sadness or sorrow to get the best of us. So anyway, everybody, sending you all so much love and strength. That's another thing that keeps coming up in tarot a lot, that this is a time when we're calling on our inner strength and asking our ancestors for assistance as well, and reminding us who it is that we are. Of course, the angels, and are always there to help us through these times, especially when we're in deep emotional waters of Pisces. I say Mother Mary or Archangel Michael. I ask Mother Mary to be in my space when I'm having tough times, and she always shows up, and I feel a great deal of comfort then. So anyway, everybody, take care of yourselves, and I will speak to you again in about a week. All right. Bye-bye.